It gives them, just like you say in your tracks, Tracy, it helps them feel calm, confident, and in control. It gives them this sense that, oh, I can do this. So the thing that I see when parents take the class especially, I feel like we'll meet after they've taken the class and we'll talk, and their whole persona has changed. Their whole the excitement is upped for this birth. Suddenly they're saying, this is so great, I can do this. It's going to be amazing. And that's usually very different from what I've heard previously from them. And so that's really refreshing to me. And then that means I don't have to do that. I don't have to do this pumping up for them. They are hearing this in class, they're learning it, and they're getting excited on their own, and as they read and as they listen. So to me, that's what it gives parents. It gives them this sense of security and kind of a renewed sense of in their own abilities. Because every mom is capable, but in this society, we fill our minds with this gunk and sludge of birth is scary, it's awful, and everything we see, everything we hear from our friends, co-workers, just sets us up to be afraid of birth. So we've really got to clear out the garbage, and we've got to train our minds to believe new things about birth. And that's really what GentleBirth does. Absolutely. I love it, because instead of finding myself talking a mom through every single search, I'm able to say, let's turn on GentleBirth. And then we listen to that instead, which lets me put my energy into thinking about what's coming, what this mom needs, being more attentive and honed into her physical and emotional needs, rather than trying to help her in her mental state. I also find that before I join parents in their home, I'm able to say, turn on GentleBirth, and it actually prolongs their ability to stay on their own at home, which is fantastic, because as a doula, I never want to go too early, because that could mean I'm spending an extra day at a birth, and I'm just not as fresh and ready to help parents that way. So with GentleBirth, I say, turn it on as soon as your surges are starting, and keep on listening. And the goal is to have it on all the way through birth. So I find that it brings a sense of calm to the room. I love to have it on when the nurse is around, because it introduces her to this concept of gentle birth. And it also keeps everybody kind of mellow, because Tracy's voice is on in the background. It's very soothing. The music is kind of, new agey. And it brings the energy down a notch, which is right where you want it to be during birth. I find that the dads who've taken the class, they are also as excited about it as moms, because they've heard this information, and I think the class really appeals to the male mind. It's very fact-based, evidence-based, and dads really eat that up. They just want to see, give me the facts, just the facts, and that's exactly what they're getting in the class. And I feel like they come away saying, this makes so much sense. I'm on board with this. It's not just this kind of hippie, granola-y, going into a trance. No, they really understand that this is brain training for birth. And then they're able to, because they understand it and they jive with it, they're able to get behind it and support it during the birth. I love the Facebook group. I think that to have the support of other moms is priceless. So many times you're going this road alone, but moms can go and they can read all of these positive stories, and they can read about moms who have had interventions. Perhaps they've been unanticipated, but yet they're able to have a wonderful, positive birth experience, and I think that is so empowering. And they're able to go and ask questions, to share their own birth story, and that's all very validating. So I love that. I love the tracks. I think they're incredibly soothing. They soothe my soul when I'm at a birth. Sometimes I find myself getting a little sleepy because I'm so relaxed. So I love that. I think the power of hearing things it's incredible. So when a mom hears day in and day out that you can do this, your body is strong, it's made to birth your baby is the perfect size for your body, she really starts to believe that. It sinks into this subconscious. I tell my clients that I'm the kind of gal who likes proof. I'm a proof is in the pudding kind of a doula. I only care about the results. So I only recommend 2 childbirth programs. GentleBirth is one of them. And I recommend them because I see clients having a fantastic experience. And I feel like all the other programs are wonderful. But when it comes to giving birth, it doesn't really help you that much to know, during the first stage of birth, you are this many centimeters dilated. That's useful to a point. But really what you need are tools. You need tools that you can pull out and that you can use during your birth. And that is what GentleBirth gives you. Those other programs are great, but the reality is you're going to forget it when you're in the moments. GentleBirth allows you to keep on going. You just press play and you listen continually. And so you're using those tools all throughout versus forgetting them and laying them to the side when birth begins. I wanted to tell you a little story about, so I have one client who used GentleBirth and then she passed it on to her friend. And I had worked with both of them as a doula. And this friend, she listened to GentleBirth a little bit and decided it wasn't for her. And so I said, okay, that's fine. But when I arrived at her house, I just felt like she needed a little something more. So I suggested, let's just turn on some GentleBirth. And we did. And it turned out she absolutely loved it. And she put her headphones in and she never took them out. And she had the most gorgeous birth, and afterwards we were talking and I said, what do you think about GentleBirth during your birth? And she said, I couldn't have done it without it. So it was so interesting to me that before birth, no, this isn't my thing. During birth, it was absolutely essential to having a fantastic birth. So, and so many of my clients, they'll put their headphones in and they are in the zone and they are off. And the only time we ever lift up that headphone is to ask a quick question or to let her know what's going on. But otherwise, she's going. Absolutely. I think it could help any mom, whether she has an epidural, whether she, I had a mom recently, a client who was having an induction and, it was a very long induction as they tend to be. And she had GentleBirth on the whole entire time. She ended up with an epidural and she still had her GentleBirth on all the way until baby was born. And finally I popped those earphones out as soon as baby arrived. And that was what helped her through this whole process. The unexpected, she didn't want an induction. She really didn't want an epidural. But in those instances, it was able to help her through those unplanned for and really unwanted circumstances and to help her feel very much in control, very confident, and she was very happy with the end result. Even though it had veered quite significantly from her birth plan, she was still happy with how things ended up. I think people don't realize that the hospital is like a restaurant. You are there, it's a la carte. Do you want this? Great, go for it. You don't want that? Don't get it. And I think your class and that introduction that you give to birth planning is it helps set them up for feeling in control and feeling like they're the boss at their birth. And I think GentleBirth it's flexible enough to do that, to offer that to parents, because it's not tailored towards only epidural birth or only natural birth. The tracks are it could be about any kind of birth, cesarean birth, whatever it may be. The whole reason I got into this field was because I had my 3 babies and I had 3 doulas, one for each birth, and each birth was so empowering. My first birth, I used a program similar to GentleBirth, and I spent the first 24 hours completely on my own, but very comfortable, happy. My husband was sick as a dog, couldn't get out of bed that day, so when I was starting, he just wasn't available, so I went on my merry way. I went to a wedding that day. I shopped for a wedding gift before the wedding. I went to the store. In the middle of the night, I had a hankering for peach juice, so I picked myself up, drove myself to the store, got some peach juice. I was the only person in the store, probably good, because every few minutes I had to lean over my cart and do a little huffing and puffing. But the point was that there was no fear, and I felt completely comfortable. I called my doula after 24 hours had passed and said, it's probably a good time to come over. She did. Midwife followed shortly after, and baby followed shortly after that. So I realized how strong I was in that moment and that I could do anything. And that's really what this birth gave to me. So since that point in my life, nothing has stopped me from, I've started a business, I've done any number of things that probably I wouldn't have dreamed of 10 years ago before I gave birth to my children. But now I know I gave birth, then you know what, anything's a piece of cake after that. So that's the kind of confidence that it's brought to my life, just being able to dive into things headlong and without any fear. And it also helps me to trust. Well, having given birth, you learn to trust your body and to know that it knows what to do, not just during birth, but during every day, and tuning into your body and realizing that it's talking to you, it's speaking to you, sending messages. So our job is just to hear them and listen. What I want for every mom, and that's why I love GentleBirth, I want every mom to have that level of confidence. I want her to know that she can do anything that she puts her mind to. Birth is 90% in your head. The other 10% confident your body's going to take care of. If your mind is on board, your birth is going to go beautifully. There might be a few surprises. You know, the one rule, I think one truism in birth is that you want to expect the unexpected. And that could be anything from your birth is 5 hours long to your birth has taken a lot of twists and turns and you end up in a cesarean. But no matter how a mom is giving birth, I want her to feel that kind of confidence and that I did everything I could. I went into this without any fear, and and it went a little differently than I anticipated perhaps, but I was very happy with this experience and I would do it again. That's the ultimate goal. I want a mom to come out of it saying, yeah, I could do that again. Maybe not right now, give me a couple years, but yeah. Well, I think because they've had a birth that's been empowering to them, I feel like they're empowered for that postpartum period, empowered to make choices, empowered to ask for help. And when you feel good after a birth, it's a whole lot easier to take care of your baby. So when you've had a birth that's gone smoothly and easily, then you're able to glide into that role as a new mom, I think, a lot more easily.